Redfield! How dare you interfere with my operation?
What are you talking about?
You let yourself be captured so you could lead your people to this base!
I have no idea what you're babbling about.
You don't fool me! I am Alfred Ashford, commander of this base.
Oh? You must be one of our lower-level officers if you're
Alfred Ashford is one of the most unhinged individuals that Claire Redfield will encounter during the events of the game Resident Evil Code Veronica X. Born under mysterious circumstances to Alexander Ashford, the 6th Earl of Ashford, Alfred and his twin sister Alexia would be raised to revere the greatness of their family name. However, while Alexia would embody this greatness, Alfred would live in her shadow, never quite matching his sister's keen intellect and inherent scientific ability. This disparity would lead him to idolize his sister beyond reason, an unhealthy obsession that would leave Alfred's mind fractured when a 15-year experiment would leave the pair separated for an extended period of time.
What? No!
Wait a second.
The story of Alfred Ashford as we know it begins with his father Alexander and his quest to restore the Ashford name to its former glory. His father, Edward, had been a co-founder of Umbrella and a truly exceptional man. However, Alexander hadn't been gifted with the same prestige, failing to even become a leader in his chosen field of genetic engineering. At the same time as his unexceptional talents nagged him, another co-founder, Oswell E. Spencer, had been making tremendous strides within the corporation. Spencer's influence was beginning to consume Umbrella from within, and Alexander sought to rectify this takeover. Through his studies, he'd found a gene that would allow him to regulate the intelligence of an individual by recomposing the base alignment of the element. Hoping to use this to reinvigorate the Ashford name, he would decide to manipulate DNA from the matriarch of the family, Veronica, and implant the artificially created embryo within a surrogate mother to create the ideal heir to the Ashford name. To Alexander's great surprise, though, 2 children would be the fruit of his labor, a twin boy and girl whom he would name Alfred and Alexia. As they would begin to grow, however, it would become apparent that the intelligence gene had not been distributed evenly between them. By the age of 10, Alexia had become highly regarded as a child prodigy. But Alfred was only moderately more intelligent than the average person. As a result of this inconsistency, Alexia would become the focus of all of Alexander's efforts, Alfred being pushed to the side and forming an unhealthy obsession with his sister, as her standing began to almost deify her in his mind. Alexander would keep the true nature of the twins' birth a highly protected secret, the only evidence being locked away in a sealed room at the Antarctic facility. However, while he was busy helping Alexia with her new obsession, the T. Veronica virus, Alfred had begun exploring the grounds of the building. Finding the sealed room, he would eventually figure out how to unlock it. And once he did, the truth about everything would be made clear. Alfred's existence was a mistake. Alexia was the true goal of his father's experiment, and he was but an unexpected byproduct, a cliff note in the story of her greatness. Furious, he would bring this information to his sister, and together they would decide that their so-dubbed failure of a father would finally be put to some use. Capturing Alexander, Alexia would infect him with the T. Veronica virus, carefully noting the pitfalls of his evolution as she planned for her own infection. Alfred, on the other hand, would become further lost in his inferiority to his seemingly perfect sister. So when she would bring to him the idea that she would be going into cryostasis for 15 years to form a successful bond with the T. Veronica virus, he would begrudgingly accept this absence and agree to his new role as watchdog over his beloved sister. For Alfred, this absence would be crushing. His father, for all intents and purposes, was gone, and now his sister had been sealed away as well by her own choosing. He would report Alexia as having died in an experiment gone wrong, while his father would be reported as missing and eventually deceased himself. With no other competition, Alfred would be granted the title of the 7th Earl of Ashford, with few having any real hope that he would make good use of the acclaim.
After that, Alexia's last remaining blood relative, her twin brother, who had worked in the Antarctica Research Center, came and picked up her work where she left off, but no one had any expectations of him.
To keep his mind from Alexia and his longing to reunite with her, Alfred would busy himself with schooling, graduating from an English university in 1993 before landing several high-ranking roles within the Umbrella Corporation thanks to his lineage. Despite his prestigious positions, however, Alfred would do little in the way of attempting to guide the company, instead choosing to isolate himself on his inherited island of Rockfort and establishing a military base and detention facility to accompany him. These distractions would ultimately prove fruitless, though, as his mind continued to wander to thoughts of his beloved Alexia. He would construct his private residence on Rockford in the image of their childhood bedrooms, and more disturbingly, he would begin to imagine that she was actually there with him. Unable to bear the separation any longer, Alfred's mind would split into two personalities, one being Alfred himself, and the other becoming a shard of his idealized version of Alexia. These two fragments becoming so distinct that he would begin to dress to imitate his absent sister, taking on her personality and embracing the fragment as the real Alexia. In relative secrecy, he would continue this lifestyle, small glimpses of him dressed as Alexia causing rumors among the staff at the facility. But for Alfred, his illusions had consumed him. He spent the bulk of his time fixating on conversations with his imagined Alexia, handing the daily operations of the prison camp to his subordinates, neglecting the responsibilities of his position to have detailed conversations with himself between segments of his broken mind. That is, until December of 1998, when an attack by a rival to Umbrella known as the HCF would cause chaos and panic on Rockfort Island, jarring Alfred to action as he encountered a woman named Claire Redfield whom he assumed to be a spy for the ones who attacked. He would attempt to kill this woman and her newfound companion, Steve Burnside, but unable to do so, they would eventually find themselves at his private residence. A turn of events that would eventually lead to Alfred having to confront his broken psyche, causing him to remember that his beloved sister was still on ice in Antarctica. Alfred Ashford is the most disturbed man that can be found on the grounds of Rockfort Island. Completely consumed by his perceived inferiority to his sister, it would lead him to completely abandon all logic. His existence was an anomaly, an unexpected mistake, and from that fact, he would find only pain, as he saw the constant praise heaped upon his genius, beautiful, perfect twin sister. Yet, instead of resentment, he found love. Instead of hatred, he found idolization. And he dedicated every part of his life to bask in what small glory he could attain by helping her achieve that greatness.
Alexia, you're finally awake. Alexia.